that. So you're starting to see that mortgage rate come down a little bit. I would expect more of that in 2023, and hopefully prices getting a little bit easier around the major cities, because they've been sky high as inventory's been tight and mortgage rates rising. Bad recipe for the housing market. Should get a little bit better next year.
Hey, Caleb, we saw stocks sell off on Powell's comments yesterday. What do you expect from the market, today, in the new year, if the Fed does keep these interest rates higher for longer?
Yeah, stock market did not like the messaging yesterday, which is rates are going to be higher for longer. Some folks thought the Fed was going to pull back a little bit or pivot or slow much more than they indicated yesterday. So stocks sold off. Why? Because higher interest rates puts pressure on stocks, especially those growth stocks that borrow a lot of money. So we're going to have a shakeout here for a little while, but the back half of 2023 looks pretty good. Once the Fed stops raising rates and the economy gets its footing again, back half should be good, because we've been in a bear market. The year after a bear market, traditionally very, very good for the stock market.
All right, Caleb Silver walking us through it. As always, thanks so much. Good to see
you. The feds have to come and totally explain raising these rates. We know that it really helps the rich, the people who can lend money, the banks, and it also helps people who have a lot of money and can afford to buy houses as the prices go down. They have the money, and the interest rate doesn't really bother them, because a lot of times they can pay the house totally off, or they pay so much that the small rise in interest doesn't hurt them. But average people can't afford homes. Average people can't afford the new rates that landowners are putting on their rentals. And that's a big problem. And when people decide to go out and rent apartments a year from now, or buy houses a year from now, people will find that those houses have been flipped by speculators in the real estate market, and they still won't be able to buy the house because the prices will be too high. They will also find that the rentals will be too expensive, because these big corporations are going in and buying all the rentals in certain desirable cities, near colleges, near businesses, near places where people need to be for jobs. And when they need to go out and rent those apartments, after the Fed has done all of these interest rate increases, people won't be able to afford them. The jobs just aren't going to pay enough for this type of expense. The Fed needs to come on. We have plenty of time on YouTube. We have plenty of time on other services, and they need to spell this out clearly. Who are they helping? We know the banks can produce money. That is one of the things that banks are allowed to do. They create money, and there must be a way that we can solve this problem we have with inflation without doing these interest rate hikes. I think they need to come clean. They need to spell it out. They need to have a course as long as need be, and it needs to be up on something like YouTube, where people can listen to it in bits and digest what the people are saying, so that people can understand who is really benefiting from these interest rate hikes, because I don't see people benefiting. A lot of people now are leaving apartments and going back to live with their family members. They're going back to mom's house. Sometimes they're going back because mom is old and needs health care, or dad. But sometimes they're going back to mom's house because they can't afford to pay the increased rents that landowners are demanding. And if you leave that property, go into mom's house, and expect to come back in a year, guess what? That rent's going to be even higher. So we need the feds to come clean. This is a great time for them to put out detailed information as to how this is going to help us and the thinking in increasing these interest rates. I think it's hurting. So, what do you think? Like and subscribe.